Okay, well, welcome to opening the brown envelope. Yes, I've got it right. So,
I'm pushing the brown envelope, depending on which one you got right.
I don't know if you caught the last vlog, but this is a vlog around unpicking what's happening in Hastings and Hastings Borough Council. It's not a Hastings Borough Council thing. This is just us three people just talking about stuff that's happening in Hastings and trying to unpick it a bit. So this is Jim.
Hi, thanks for watching, by the way, last one. Appreciate that. Nice.
And this is Kwame.
Yeah, hi.
And so somebody wrote in saying about why is it called opening the brown envelope?
Well, it's easy, isn't it? We've all had the fear, haven't we, when the brown envelope with the Hastings logo comes through the letterbox, you think, oh shit, have I paid the council tax?
Well, for me as well, it was about the fact that whenever everybody's sort of like talking about council business, and they always go, oh, here we go. He's got, they're getting some sort of bung, some sort of extra money.
Oh, is that how you see it? So it's true then, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's what I think about the brown envelope. That every time we talk about, exactly. Oh, there's a house building there or whatever's happening. I always get it thrown at me. Oh, well, you're making a bit of money, aren't you? I bloody wish I fucking was. I'll tell you that. I wish I was.
I am using the building firm that I also own. Yeah.
I tell you, I wouldn't be living where I was. Renting somewhere if I was getting that kind of incentive, should I say? So there you go.
We'll be definitely filming in a pub. Not around my house.
So we're filming this in Jim's house. This is what happens on a Friday or Saturday or Sunday night. After a few beers, we've watched the football, and we're just going to unpick some stuff that's happening in Hastings.
We want the kids to leave us alone, so we bore them with interesting talk.
So we're going to think about. So first thing off, we're going to do what's happening in Hastings this week. So Jim.
Right, well, last week we had Maya on, didn't we? Councillor Maya. She's talking about the environmental stuff, and I was reading the Hastings Independent Press.
Right,
say that right?
Yeah.
Hip thing, and they've got a thing in there from Julia Hilton, which is saying what have Hastings Council actually done in climate change, which I thought some really interesting things. Is basically saying she's done fuck all, which is a bit harsh because we know it's really hard. Yeah. She's from the Green Party. Hi, Julia. Be really handy if you got in touch with her maybe, and maybe you could have a chat and discuss some things instead of just having a go at her, when she's clearly got no money. But one thing she did say is all the money borrowing you're doing is from the worst bank with the biggest carbon footprint. Well, which I thought was interesting. Was it Barclays? It says it in there somewhere about Barclays.
That was really interesting. The Barclays thing's really interesting because on the accounts in Hastings Borough accounts in the budget, because it's a big budget week last week and whatever.
Isn't that been postponed?
But the Barclays bit in there actually shows a savers account. It's a bit like yours and mine savers accounts, because the council collects loads of money from council tax and business.
But it was about how Barclays conduct their business.
Yeah, I know, but we are not part of that. So
I know, but you are using them. Surely, if you went with a more
the cooperative.
Well, we were with the cooperative
until their crackhead leader came out a few years ago. Sorry.
No,
true, wasn't it? He was a crackhead.
I'm not sure about that. So I ain't going to start about. But the co-op is no longer offering a local authority's bank account. So you have to go with what you've got.
But that shows. I thought. Sorry to cut in. I know we've got a problem talking over it. I thought that shows how deep the climate change problem is, when you have to consider what bank you're using to manage your loans because of their so-called carbon footprint or carbon neutrality or however it is. I mean, how bonkers is that as a level? Yeah. And poor Maya has to deal with that. I struggle dealing with it sometimes because it's such a big thing, and she's got to do it as a job.
No, she was good. I thought she was good.
A bit more support from everyone, please, and let's see what happens.
There you go. There's a call out. I mean, it's a massive issue. It's a crisis.
Yes.
And I know we didn't really touch on it massively last week about the solar. Well, we did talk about solar panels a little bit and about the country park. There goes the dog. Yeah. And but I thought she was a good guest. I thought she gave a good account of herself actually. So I was
guzzle that champagne on camera now, didn't she?
So Kwame, what was your thing of the week?
Okay, my thing of the week was the in-house elections for the leader of the Hastings Council.
Oh man,
and I think that was kind of kept pretty quiet. We knew that Peter Chaney was stepping down, But the actual leadership I believe was in the last 7 to 10 days, and I think that's something which we should really touch on. I think it's a big topic for us.
Just to hurt me? Is that what you're trying to say?
So how does it feel to lose, Councillor Batsford? Surely you must be getting used to it. I know he's a Liverpool supporter, not a chance.
But so I mean, there is a thing about the fact that obviously, we have local elections where everybody in the town gets to vote for the councillors, and then those councillors, the ruling group, end up voting for the leader. So it starts getting quite small groups. So there's 23 Labour councillors. Last Monday we had the Hastings, where me and Kim Forward and Trevor Webb were the candidates. We all gave our speeches. We did some 2 pages worth of statement to go out there about what our vision was for the council. And the councillors voted for Councillor Kim Forward, she's been around.
Congratulations!
Bring us forward.
I mean, she's been a deputy leader for a long, long time. She's been an incredible mentor to me, to be honest. So yes, I was gutted. It's taken me about a week to get over it because my ego is absolutely humongous, as you know.
Like Kwame keep on bringing it up, just to make sure.
But she is a really, and to have a woman as a council leader, it's the first one since Pam Brown, I think, it's 20 years ago or whatever. So, really important stuff, and I think she'd be fantastic. She is a really strong, steady pair of hands, and I think maybe in this time where we've got massive changeover in the senior structure because we're getting rid of one of our leading sort of directors is going, so we have one person looking after it. So we need that sort of strong leadership role. And my fellow councillors decided that it was Kim was best placed for that. So we'll move on from there.
Well, knowing you the short time, Andrew, that I've known you, probably for the best. So, no, I was only joking.
We'll cut that bit out. Really, unbelievable.
Just joking.
So my thing of the week, I had a meeting, really interesting meeting with the guys, Hastings United guys, so Hastings United directors.
Yeah.
So I went up and watched them play the week before against the mighty Ashford.
That's right.
3-0.
Oh my God, it was the most. It was devastating. Actually, not a single shot on goal. I don't think. So and when I met up with the directors, Darren and
was this post match?
No. It wasn't
I was going to say, furious.
In the director's box with some champagne, cigars.
I tried talking to them, but they're absolutely furious.
They were furious, and they've put in a lot of their own personal money in, as you know, because local football's like that, there's no. So, but what they wanted to talk to me about was obviously their plans and their vision for the new stadium up in Hollington and that sort of thing. So that was really interesting. Apparently, Hollington Football Club are well on board now, so they're talking about sharing the stadium, which would be amazing sort of like resource for them and much better quality. So I was really impressed by them actually. But there's lots of things to sort out. It all depends on housing and making a profit out of that housing. But at the same time, I'm looking to make sure that they deliver their 25% affordable housing on those sites. So it's a big complicated question, and a big complicated issue. But I'm hopeful because the town needs a good quality football club.
When you say affordable housing, is that social housing?
Well, for me, affordable housing means LHA rate housing. Okay, so that's the amount of money that the government give you for a single person or a family to live on. So for me, that's what affordable housing is. Government's
as a rent structure.
So the LHA rate is basically the old housing benefit rate. If a family falls completely on their asses, the benefits will pick them up, so they won't lose their house. That's for me what affordable housing is. But affordable housing for the government, they state is around about 80% of market value, which is ridiculous. That's far too high for most people in Hastings already. So that's where the bum fight happens, because the developers will say we can't afford to build out this site with 25% affordable housing at the rate you're saying, and we say you bloody will do. And, so that's how it works.
But when they say they can't afford, is it a case of they can't make that much money out of it, but they're still going to make a little bit?
Well, I tell you what, the most fascinating thing, a couple of weeks ago, I went to a meeting where Homes England were and a few government officials were doing some talks about house building, and what they've done. The housing planning rules have changed, where you used to be able to put the land value in with your viability. So every developer has to put in a viability case, which basically states how much it's going to cost, but how much affordable housing they can put in their big, on 106 stuff, which is the stuff, infrastructure stuff.
Sweet. So you build 100 houses, and if you sell 70 of those houses, you're still making enough money to fund the other 30, which could be lower income houses.
That's the plan, but
right.
so they're taking out. So now those viability studies are now has to be public, which is great, so people can actually scrutinise them much closer. Hastings Borough Council have always made developers always pay for an extra viability test, an independent one anyway. But the big changes now, the land value has been taken out of the viability tests, but the developers baked in can make 15 to 20%. They guaranteed profit of 15 to 20% on every development. I mean, you name me a business in the world where you can guarantee it's guaranteed to 15 to 20%. It's massive, and the fact that there's no government, there's hardly any government subsidy for housing. So real struggle.
It seems bizarre that it's capped that way. It should be capped the other way.
Yeah, well,
shouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't really be making more than 10% out of things like this.
Well,
do you know what I mean? And instead of supposed a minimum of.
But it was obviously a trade-off. They wanted to make the viability test public, and they wanted this is the government, and they wanted to make it more realistic. Because there were landowners there were the developers that were going out and buying a bit of land for say £1 million, and it was only really worth £300,000, but they were speculating because they were hoping to make profit on it. And so they would come to the council and say, well, actually our land's cost us £1 million, so we're going to put that into our budget, and we're going, whoa, it's only worth that. So that's a good thing. It's a bit more transparent. But
transparency is always good when it comes to money.
It is transparent, but ultimately you're ending up paying. So you are guaranteed. So fantastic business to be in if you're guaranteed a 15 to 20% profit. That's amazing. Okay. So really interesting chat with the Hastings United guys, and I hope they can bring forward a really positive and proper business plan that actually shows that it's deliverable. Because the town needs a good football club.
But
we also need housing as well. There are big pressures on both sides.
One more thing. So affordable housing isn't social housing. Well,
the good old council houses, hardly anybody's building those anymore because you just can't physically build them and rent them out even over a 40-year period to make the money back. So let's say for Optivo and Orbit, the big housing associations, they are building affordable housing, which is LHA rate. Which is so for me,
I just think people want. I think they want an understanding of when we talk about social housing, and then you're giving us a spiel on something else. Which yes, it is a spiel on something else, Andrew. And for me, I just think we need to be very clear about what's really going on, because it's no longer social housing is council-owned properties, and then we have something else, which is to do with renting rates, as Jim.
I mean, really quickly. I mean, like in 1996, all the residents of the council housing in Hastings had a vote, and they voted to move to a housing association. So in 1996, all the homes that the council owned were transferred over to 1066 Housing Association, which then became Amicus a Housing Association, then became Optivo Housing Association. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, further away.
Everybody, so now you know. This is real.
So from Housing Association, does that mean that you give the person the money and then they pay the rent out of it instead of it being council housing, where obviously the council just
So basically, I mean, when it was originally sold, was 1066 was a very local housing association. So and they did genuinely improve the stock. There's no doubt about that. It was a good move for the local residents. But as they've grown, the question mark is about how they look after the estates properly. Who do you speak to? Because as soon as you get bigger and bigger, it's a bit like national government. It's a bit like trying to get hold of the county council. For your potholes. So the bigger you get, the more distant you become away from your customer, if you like. The person that you're supposed to be focusing on.
Or you think, right? So you invest £1 million and then you're making 1.1 million, but you invest £1 billion, all of a sudden you're making 100 million a week, and you get taken a little bit up by the money. Because
I mean, to be fair to the big housing associations, the bigger they get, because they're getting less and less subsidy from the government, they have to have a bigger portfolio to be able to borrow against to build the houses.
Right.
the trouble with Hastings is that we haven't got very big spaces to build houses on, and they've got a big pressure on from national government to build a lot of houses, thousands of houses. Now, if you think about even the biggest site in Hastings is around about 200 houses. You know, it's small fry, so trying to get them to concentrate on Hastings is a real struggle. But we've got to get going. I mean, even if it comes to the point that Hastings Borough Council needs to start building, council houses again, if you like, because we've got to.
I was going to ask you this actually. Yeah. Would that be? You said earlier that you can't sustain the profit on building a house yourself and then the rent as a social housing. Yeah. It's unfulfillable even with a 40-year mortgage. So how could Hastings do it?
Well, I suppose. Yeah, we're actually bringing a paper. There's a paper coming forward. The officers are actually working on some finances at the moment. How that works. But I had some really interesting conversations with Heart of Hastings and the Hastings United guys about what does affordable housing mean? What does it look like? What kind of products are out there? So Hastings United, Heart of Hastings are talking about affordable housing being rent capped. So they're coming in at a slightly higher rate than LH8, but they're saying they're capping the rate for perpetuity forever.
Right.
So in 5, 6, 7 years time, those rents will be lower, but they'll be secure.
Right. So they can get the investors on board by making a bit of money to start off with, but it's a slow build.
Yeah, and they're quite interesting model because they're getting in the DFLs to invest their extra money that they've made from moving down from London to Hastings, actually investing it in a housing portfolio, which is quite interesting. Yeah, so Rock House, Observer building. So
straight onto Airbnb.
Really interesting.
Making a mint.
Really interesting model. So but we'll come back to that. I mean, I think we should have a developers special. I know there's been a bit of a call out. So
I think we're running over.
We're running out of time.
That's what I think.
So housing's a really, really important issue. We're absolutely 100% on that.
It's a good segue into what we're going to talk about next.
Absolutely. So we have got a special guest in today. And the special guest today is James Robinson from Surviving the Streets. Come in.
James, you are, mate.
Good.
Are you in?
Invite me. Come on up, get in there.
There you go. So
it's a tight squeeze next to Batsford, isn't it?
But I tell you what, after this week, my ego has shrunk greatly. But welcome, James. Thanks for coming.
No
really
worries,
appreciate that. So Kwame and James didn't really know James until today. But James,
I thought it was the old Bill knocking on my door when he turned up. I'll be honest. Mate, am I
It has its reasons.
So James runs a local charity called Surviving the Streets. Most of you local people will know about it. Massive housing crisis and massive homelessness crisis out on the streets, and these guys do amazing work out feeding the rough sleepers and the rough sleeping community in general. But James, you've been hearing us talk about the homeless housing issue. But I mean, what do you see on the streets?
Well, there's so many questions. It's just question after question after question, because a lot of people see homelessness as that person you see down the road sitting in that doorway. Unfortunately, it's just a bigger issue than that. It's, my question is, everyone says, can't you just put them in a church or can't you just put them in a hall? It's such a bigger problem. We're talking about vulnerable people, and it is. And I'm with the council on a lot of the situations they've been in and what they deal with, because people don't understand the situation as a whole. And this is why I've come on today to sort of help Andy address the situation, because I think people need to understand it's okay to say, go and do this, go and do that. The council should be doing this, the council should be doing that. For me as a whole, Hastings Council have done an awful lot. They're trying to pull out every string they can to make things work. They're listening to other organisations now, from where years ago there was none of that. It was in their tent or not at all. Now they're kind of a bit of transparency there. So lots of Andrew and a lot of the councillors.
But when your hands are tied, aren't they? Or you've got no money for it, then you've just.
Can you imagine from being from my side of view, my team, when we have to try and give the support we have to the people. But I had to tie because we don't know where to stand. The information wasn't there.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to give someone that information, you need to go to do this, you need to go to do that. Without that support from the council or the councillors, potentially we'd be giving them the wrong information. Yeah. Because as a whole. you're messing with people's lives. If I say go down to this place and they say sorry, but this is not the right service,
You need to go and see so-and-so,
You need to
yeah.
go and see so-and-so. By the time they've got to that person, they've had enough.
Yeah.
And it's, so it's very, very frustrating.
So James, you're not aligned to the council. You're actually a charity.
Yeah.
which is
I'm for the people. I'm completely for the
separate
people.
of the
Yes.
Just so it's clear, because
we are completely separate for the
because
council.
you seem very. The way you're talking at the moment is that you're really close with working with the local council, but you.
I want to make it clear.
Yeah.
We do not get no funding from the council.
No.
As a whole, we
No
just
one
try.
does.
He keeps asking.
It's more of an information thing, because without the right information, you can't help these people.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we can all give a sandwich, we can all give a hot drink, which is great. But unfortunately, the bigger picture is we need to get them off the street. We need to interact with the services that are available in the area. Yeah. And that is one of the hardest things. And as the whole for the council, I mean, we run night shelters, so they support set and things like that. We try our best, but with the council as a whole, I mean, we can only do so much. But if we didn't have that information, it's just a case of we're doing what anyone else could do.
Yeah, right.
So you need that information. It's vital that and the same with all the other councils. They should be working with the smaller groups because they're the ones on the ground. They're the ones on the grassroots doing that work.
So for me, James, right, you have a relationship with some of the homeless, most of the homeless people, I take it, in the town. So you understand some background stuff, which is what I think you need when you're trying to sort someone out, trying to get them off the streets. If you don't understand why they're on the streets, how can you get them off?
Exactly.
It's a little bit of empathy.
Exactly.
So yeah, I get
Exactly.
it. It's good. I mean, you have got the homeless shelter down in St Leonard's, opening up and stuff. I know it's one of your very strong points you like to make. So it's brilliant that he's actually doing something.
Well, to be fair, it's the council's duty. Let's get it fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's true.
The council should be doing a lot more, but I understand the funding issue as a whole, it's not there.
Yeah.
So
Can I talk, because you have the severe weather emergency protocol,
Yes.
which is from the government. So the council is funded by the government, from what I gather. That's
Yes.
from reading Hourglass.
yes,
So there is a catch of money which is coming from central government to the council.
yes.
How much is it, and how much do you?
This is why I'm here today. This is the question I want to ask Andrew, because
Kwame.
the whole thing as a whole, you have rough sleepers, you have your sofa surfers. What category was £2 million spent on out of the council? I want to know what category was spent on sweat. How much of that pot was spent? on sweat?
I want to understand that.
That's
as well.
my
That's
thing.
the
I
thing
could
for us.
totally tell you. So and last couple of weeks we got the rough sleeping settlement, if you like, from the government. I think we got about £1.5 million, but that's for Hastings, Eastbourne, and Rother as well. Hastings Council are the lead agency on that, so that's why we get the money. But it's spread out across the whole of that area. We went in with Eastbourne, but at the time, because they were looking like they had quite a big homelessness issue at the time. But they had no infrastructure, and Hastings has got quite good infrastructure and multi-agency work and that sort of thing. So £1.5 million is given to the council to address the homelessness issue. But if I'll throw out there really quickly, but it's still costing this council an extra £1 million a year in temporary accommodation. So money coming in. But I would suggest that £1.5 million is only making a small dent in the loads of the money that's been stripped away from all the other services that have been out there for years. So
Due to the Tory austerity campaign that seems to run.
It's gone in there. It's
That seems to run in this country is a good idea.
But we still haven't got the
Make the
percentage.
poor.
What was the percentage
That's right.
spent on sweat?
I don't know how much percentage it is, but I know it costs £250 a night to run the sweep thing. So that basically pays for the security.
£250 per person?
No, for the
Right,
night.
okay. I was going to say, Jesus.
So that £250 covers the two security guards for the night, a bit of money for the officer that comes up and stays there until 10 o'clock at night to register the people, and a bit of money thrown to the church to basically say thanks very much. So that's the cost of the £250.
And that's how many people?
But as a whole, how much have we spent this year so far for this winter? How much have we spent on sweat? That's my question.
I don't know the answer to that. Oh, he's got me.
That was a big question for me, because as a whole, what we do, we could, there's much more that could be done in other ways. The council do a good job as keeping the roof over the guy's head. But there's a lot more that could be done with the money spent, and that's why I ask. I'm asking because, as a whole, for next year, could we change things?
So where would the money need to be spent to make a difference, though, James? Do you know what I mean? Because the money, if the money's there, where is it being spent wrong?
I'll explain to you as a whole.
Right.
So as a whole, the council spend their money on security and what they do to
and the security is because of vulnerable people.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Which
it's not to
totally
keep...
understandable. But as a whole, it's just a roof over their head.
Yeah.
If the option was there where there was someone offered you something better, a better service, which is just more than a roof, so it's a bed, hot food,
maybe someone to talk to.
Yes.
Hey, we've got some forms here if you want to fill out.
This
we
is
could
the
do a
only
temporary
reason why
abode thing.
I'm asking, because there's other organisations like ours that have the same sort of infrastructure that potentially could deliver a better service than what the council are offering.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I would like to know, because if it's a certain amount, maybe we could work something out between the services in the town to better that service for the people.
So instead of the council giving 200 quid where 500 quid is necessary, maybe you could meet halfway.
Well, if it's going to be 5 nights, that's £1,000. For example, 4 nights, that's £1,000. That £1,000, I'll give you an example. It's about 28 grand. We fed over 110,000 people.
Yeah.
Let's do our maths, and that's the complete service as a whole. So if we could shrink that number, widen the service.
Yeah, exactly that. So better use of funding
that's
where
the
it
only
is.
reason, and my question, but the council, obviously that's their duty of care, but as a whole, can we better that? That's the only reason the percentages.
But we are agreeing on that. So me and James had quite a few chats about it, and the contract that we had with the security guards and whatever was already in place. We've had those conversations. That's going to come to an end, obviously, in March when it gets a bit warmer and a bit nicer. But I totally agree. I think allowing you guys to have that money, if you like, and then use it for a wider purpose is a much better idea. But we've got to go through as a council, you've got to go through the protocol stuff, you've got to go through health and safety and risk assessments, and we work really closely to try and
so we
align
just want to
that.
clear this up, guys. This is what we are trying to do. When you have a go at your local councillors, and you do have some of them do deserve it, I'm not going to lie, but some of them are trying above and beyond to try and make things change. So that is my thing for the homeless, because I am in it for the people. I don't get paid for what I do. I won't take a wage to run and survive in the streets, and nor my brother. As a whole, some organisations do, which that's down to them. They run their own little thing, but as a whole, for the people, and all I want to do is see change. I want to see people off the street.
Amazing.
I want to see them in the housing, and I want to support what the council are trying to do with creating this housing. Because where do you put these people? Where do you put these families?
Yeah.
4 families in one room in a temporary accommodation, costing the council an arm and a leg.
Which I was
£2 million, whatever they spent, could have been spent on the rough sleeping community if them houses were built.
We chatted about this yesterday didn't we? And I said, what if I become homeless to my 2 kids, my missus, my 2 dogs and a cat? What happens to us? We phone up the council. Can we get a place? Chances are we would go into a bedsit or something that is privately owned, that the council are paying stupid money for, 4, 5, 6 times the amount.
It's crazy. We just spent, the council just spent £5 million on buying houses. Because it's actually cheaper to buy a house and pay the mortgage and then put a family in there. It's still
the problem is so big that you put someone in that house, and that is not a temporary solution until they get back on their feet. It becomes permanent because there's no one to move on to.
We can't move them out.
To do. I mean, this.
And as a whole, another little question I want to pop in here while I can. Homelessness as a whole. When the council give you figures of homelessness, they are never going to have the correct figure. Let's just clear this up. They are never ever going to have the correct figure, because a lot of the people that are ex-military, for one, a lot of the people that have had previous problems with the council many years ago, that sticks.
They avoid being registered.
So when you see this figure on the paper the other day, forget that, because as a whole, you've got homeless people's homeless. So you're going to get an influx of every day. You're going to get new people coming in your town, out of your town. So just wanted to clear that up. That it's a big problem. It is a big problem, and for the councils as a whole, not just Hastings Council, all councils. It's a challenge, and I'm really praying these next few years, because the last few years I've seen it get worse.
I've seen the same in London, but Hastings in particular. How many right now homeless do we have in Hastings? I'm not talking about people sleeping on other people's beds and people who they've actually got somewhere to go, but people who are actually on the streets right now, this evening, out there.
I can say around 30.
Around 30.
Around 30, and that's just people that will not. It's not the council's fault, because they won't come and see the council because they've given up with them. Or it could be a case of immigration. It could be a case of where they've got no identification, so they can't claim the benefits. So the council unfortunately can't help them, which is very frustrating.
And how many of those which you've just said there are actually in that state? Immigrants are actually, because you're saying 30 people. Yes, there's immigrants. I understand that, but then going to be a percentage of people there who may have mental health.
Can I just say, immigrants are humans?
Can I just
Yeah,
mention
they are. Right? They are. But I just want to make. I just want to make
mental health as a whole. If you've been on the streets for longer than 3 weeks, if you didn't have a mental health problem, you will. Your mind.
Thank you. That's what we
but
need
before
to
you know,
understand.
paranoia kicks in. Then after the paranoia kicks in, there's so many different types. It's so hard, depending on what that person's been through. If they've been in the army and they've got PTSD, then they're on the streets. That's one of the worst because people trying to approach them and people say, "Oh, well, he's rude."
Yeah,
because he's just come out of a combat zone. You're expecting this guy to sort of, it's so,
woken up, strange environment, fucking cold, fucking freezing, not very happy. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
Sorry about my bad language.
No, it's true, and it's really, really hard to address to people because people just don't understand. As much as they think they understand, it is very frustrating because when someone says, "Oh, that homeless person's got a flat, he shouldn't be begging."
They got a mobile phone. That's what I hear.
But
a lot.
he was homeless.
Phone.
All he knows is the street. All he knows is to be sitting in that doorway. He hasn't, being stuck around 4 walls. It can be nice for a few weeks. Oh, that's lovely. When reality kicks in, it's oh my god, what is going on?
Yeah, and bored
Back
and
out
nothing
on the street.
to do. And
How many people have we seen with you, Andrew, who you've housed, who've gone back on the street? Because we know that you housed that fella who was living up by St Leonard's.
West Marina guy.
West Marina. He was there for a long time.
Yeah, no, but he's still housed, which is fantastic.
that's great.
And one of the good
he
things.
sleeps in the back garden. Sorry.
One of the things we brought in was the housing first model. So what we got, the guys that have been sleeping on the streets for a long time really identified rough sleepers who have burnt their bridges everywhere. The new model is that they're actually physically given a home first. So you don't have to address your mental health issues, you don't have to address your drug issues, you don't have to address anything like that. You get given a home first, and then around them are the health professionals, the housing professionals, the health professionals. All those people are wrapped around that person for as long as they need it. And I think we've got about 7 or 8 people now that have actually physically been placed into long-term accommodation, which is amazing. They're
got £50, mate.
They're still there.
James.
I could do something else with that.
So there are loads of things, and I mean, like James was only talking about the fact that last week we managed to get another 10 rough sleepers into winter accommodation.
The support
off
is
the
such
street.
an important thing behind it.
It's massive.
Without that support, like you said, that's when they get stuck in the 4 walls. What the hell am I doing here?
It's massive.
And it's giving them, like I say, information is the biggest one. Give them the wrong information. You lead someone up the garden path and tell them you can offer them the well when you know for well you can't. That's the hardest thing, especially for any service, not just surviving the streets. Any service is on the front line because you've got to walk away. When you've given your hot food or you've given your blanket or you've given your clothes, what can you offer them next? Apart from if you've got nowhere to offer them, you've got to walk away.
Yeah.
Question, James.
I mean, how awful
James?
must you feel? But also, you can't make someone empty promises. Oh, we're going to
No, and that's my thing.
Right. No more questions. You know why?
I just wanted to
Overrunning.
say,
Overrunning.
I just wanted to know what you can do. James has said a few things, but what can you do now going forward from this day? We've sat here today. We've had it's really a deep subject, and what can we do in here? Especially we've got the councillor here. What can we do to help you to make things?
Good question.
Fundraise. We're completely self-funded. I get no funding from no one. I mean, we get people raise funds for us, but people don't realise the overheads. We've got vehicles running out all the time. We stop food waste all around East Sussex to support families. Not just homeless we help. Families, schools.
Anyone kicked out of their home is considered homeless.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if it's been 2 hours or 20 years, right? You lose your house with your family, no matter how big or small. If it's just you are homeless.
So, we help anyone we can, and even down we're trying to get some back to work schemes running now, which give them courses and give them something to look forward to.
Well, you should be doing.
And this is what we're pulling weight doing it, and we've linked up.
I think the most important thing is that we're working together because the council ain't going to solve it all on their own. James is not going to solve it on his own, but together working as a partnership. And Hastings has got a really good track record of working in partnership with people. But I mean, the reality is it's all down to this money business because 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was running Extracts Young People Centre, there was loads of money out there. Okay, there was support services, there were people working with mental health issues. And then we had 3 people sleeping on our streets. 3 people sleeping on our streets.
10 times the amount.
And as soon as you see this, you smashed, the support net completely apart. You've got people that James is working every day, and they're expected to be looking for work, looking for using computers to show that they've been looking for work.
They get sanctioned for signing because they missed their dates for signing on. If you're homeless, you've had no sleep.
Yeah. That's right.
Who's going to get up? If you've just got that hour of sleep, you're not going to go to the office because you're going to be mad. So this.
And sometimes fear in your life, right?
There's the reality. So we're working with that. So anyway, So we are going to play a quick game. So every week we play a game of our guest celebrities.
Yes.
So
Did you know this was coming?
so this week we are playing Celebrity Rough Sleepers. Okay.
There's no business like show business like no business.
Okay. So everybody thinks that it's only the down
I
and
let
outs.
myself in for.
Only the down and outs are rough sleepers, but everybody's been through hard times, and I've picked up a few celebrities, really
Genuine,
genuine.
Not done the
celebrities.
charity thing. We'll sleep rough for a night to raise money, but genuine.
Okay. So I'm going to give you some clues about these celebrities, and then you've got to guess which celebrity this is. Okay, so first one is she didn't like
No
it.
cheating,
She didn't like it much. She's really well known for wearing leopard skin tight outfits.
Cass later.
No, it's not country and western singer.
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton, no.
Well, I was going to say Dolly Parton myself.
Shania Twain. Shania Twain.
Yes, that's right.
Apparently Shania Twain
That's right, I did hear
lived
that.
in hostels with her mum in Canada when they were homeless. So they actually so Shania Twain, before she became famous, used to be in hostels with her mother. So there you go. Right, next one. This guy, he bounced off the ropes a bit. He used to love chasing chickens around.
He said it.
Rocky.
Sylvester Stallone.
Same bloke.
Only one Rocky.
So apparently Sylvester Stallone used to sleep in bus shelters before he got the big break. And in fact, his biggest break was he was sleeping in a bus shelter and he saw an advert for some adult entertainment films. and he applied for those. And that's where he got his first paycheck. So adult entertainment saved Sylvester Stallone from being homeless. This guy, never mind him, but he was a big rock star, and he was a big part of grunge when it first came out. And
You're talking about Nevermind the Buzzcocks?
I'm
Bloke.
talking about. Come on, give me a guess.
Grunge. When you say
Mark
grunge, it could
Lamar?
Mark Lamar? No.
It's
Nevermind the
English.
Buzzcocks?
Give me American.
Is he
He's
English?
American.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain.
Yo!
Well done.
Yeah.
I was well out of my league.
Right,
there.
Kurt Cobain. So apparently Kurt Cobain was homeless for a long time as well. Spent a lot of
So
time
says Wikipedia.
living
Councillor
under a bridge.
Batsford.
Right, and the last
And mental health issues.
and the last one. Okay, last one. This guy was travelling around the country, sleeping in a car,
Forrest Gump.
trying to make his business work, and his products were finger licking good.
Ah, the Colonel.
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders, the most one of our most famous and
We do
honourable
like the-
food production
do like
companies.
Quite a lot.
He's
of
not
celebrities.
ours, isn't he? From Kentucky.
Colonel Sanders was homeless before he
Hastings.
made his
Let's
fortune.
claim him.
So there you go. So there you go. So some celebrity people that are homeless. James, it's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem
Thank
at
you
all.
very much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
guys.
Really
James,
appreciate
Lovely to
it.
meet you, mate.
Big round of applause for
Really
James.
nice.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Incredible.
So guys, what do we think about that?
Can I say first thing, right? And you're going to hear this a lot from me. I think there's going to be a general trend from me that is people need to collaborate a bit more. James is saying that since he's been talking to the council about the homelessness problem, then hopefully things are looking a little bit more brighter,
Yep.
or at least the money's going where it needs to be going. Same with the climate thing we had yesterday. Last week. Why are people not collaborating? Why are people having a go at each other and using it as bait to
Nice.
win power instead of actually just going out there and saying, you know what? Let's do it. Let's support you. Let's try this idea. I've had this idea. Let's have a look at this one.
Well, I suppose it's difficult, isn't it? Because it's a really emotive subject. You know, when you see somebody on the street, I mean, like me and James are going to go up and see a guy in Netherfield later on. I had loads of emails today from people that have seen a person sleeping rough in Netherfield in a bus stop. You know, Netherfield's not in my area, but we're going to go up there and try and encourage them to come down to the shelter tonight.
Yep.
But you know, it's a really emotive subject. People are up there feeding, giving him soup, and why isn't anybody helping him and that sort of thing. So I sent the police up earlier. But it's a big emotive issue. Climate change, homelessness is a mass. But
Every issue is. Every issue is
absolutely.
so deep. It's so complex, which is why I think when people start giving people a hard time about not doing their job properly, they should just have a little think about what they're having, what that person's job is doing, because that is huge. What James is doing is huge, and it's so multifaceted onto not just people that are sleeping on the streets and have been for years, and almost, you know, I've seen them in Soho, I've seen them round here, the grizzled old face, and you speak to them about sleep and they know no different. They don't really want the help.
Well, it's crazy. I mean, me and James actually slept out rough a couple of months ago. We bedded down in Costa Coffee area, you know, in town centre.
On the waffle cups.
Honestly, it was a complete eye-opener. I mean, I go around the schools and talk to young people about homelessness all the time, but I had no idea about the danger that people faced every night sleeping rough on the streets.
James mentioned there the paranoia that goes on, but can you imagine all it would take? You wouldn't even need to get robbed, you'd need to get half robbed, and then you would just have the fear.
100%. I mean, you know, the threat of danger from the people out on the streets, so people drunk, you know, urinating on you, trying to start a fight with you, all that kind of stuff. But also at the same time, actually danger from each other, because, you know, sleeping rough on the street, having that kind of mental health issues, using drugs, using alcohol to try, you're actually in danger from each other as well. It's a massive issue. So it was an absolutely eye-opener for me, and we'll do that again. James was really upset that actually it wasn't -3, I think, when we did it. So he thought it was cheating, but but James's charity, Surviving the Streets. We're going to put a link underneath this, and make sure if you do have any way of supporting Surviving the Streets, please do that.
Not just support, show interest as well, because interest is support, and by you showing interest and maybe speaking to other people, then it gets on to other people that can help.
No, absolutely. No. So I mean, housing's a big issue. We discussed it a little bit, but I mean, there are people out there that are asking about how we're going to build these houses, where we're going to build them, controversial subjects. So I think we need to bring that back in now. So I think maybe next week's issue, we're going to talk to some people that are either thinking about building the houses or affected by the houses being built.
So councillor developers like Councillor Batsford here and the people it affects.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We need more houses, right? By the way, can I just say, 40 minutes.
I know. Can I just add one thing to this? Is that I know one person, because I've seen them on Facebook under Andrew's Facebook when he says anything about housing, and I think their name is Liz. Liz, we'd love to have you. I think I'd like to see you go up with Andrew and actually let's find out what's actually really going on. Let's have facts and figures, and let's see what your idea.
I mean, he's setting me right up here, isn't he?
I'm up for it then. Liz, come on. Let's set Andrew up.
This would be like the Fury Tyson fight all over again.
Well, who were you putting yourself down as Tyson?
Come on.
But I think everyone wants to hear what people have got to say, and I think sometimes it's good to have someone who's quite vociferous about a subject. Andrew's very passionate about what he believes in, and I've seen Liz is very passionate about what she believes in. So let's get some common ground.
And also, as we've discovered, basically, that if we work together, better results happen. Right?
Without doubt.
Let's end the conflict, right?
100%. No, we should start singing a song about peace or something.
I don't like McCartney, mate.
So this has been Opening the Brown Envelope. This has been Kwame. This has been Jim.
I've been pushing it.
And this has been Councillor Andy Batsford. I hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe down the bottom, however these things work.
Bye.
And we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching.
Nice one.
Bye.
See you later.
Kwame, press the button.
Push that button.